Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just a reminder, let's get our videos on, especially today as we are going to have our discussion over Chapter 15 and also the spread of Islam under the Umayyad and Abbasid Caliphates. Got 18 people on here. We'll give us another maybe minute or so, and then we'll get moving. All right, so thanks everyone for your patience yesterday in our technology snafu. As stressful as that might have been for you, it's really stressful for me. And then it took a long time to bring it back, and I missed 15 minutes of period 9 also. So anyways, I got some updates installed, and I think we're better off. So I'm at 24 here, and I'm going to go ahead and share the screen and get started for today. So we can try to get a handful of things done. All right. All right, I got you guys on here. I do. Okay, so first off, that's definitely not what I wanted to show you. Okay. As usual, let's take us to the modules and see what's going on. I'm going to condense that, which I did. And so that takes us to today. So Marco Polo, primary source. I had asked you guys to have that uploaded by the time class started. I've got 30 submissions. That's about 60% of the kids. The ones that I've read so far were awesome, but I need you guys to make sure you have that done no later by the end of 9th period, okay? All right, the second theme, themes day. Well, hopefully we'll get to that at the end of the period. And then I couldn't be more obvious, I think, from our discussion that we're about to have. Make sure your discussion and your notes and then the questions from the outside circle are uploaded by the end of class today. I'm going to show you this again just so you understand. The grading goes as follows. The inner circle participates twice with quality responses, okay? That's, again, if an opinion question is asked, an opinionated question, that's fine, but make sure we respond with some type of factual evidence to back up your claim, okay? It's very important to do that because that's how we're going to write essays in the future. Secondly, the outside question, outside circle, 5 questions pre-written, and you have to ask at least one. Professional behavior, and then uploading the notes, 20 points, okay? That's a great, easy 20 points you guys, we should be able to get. The last thing I'm going to say before we get going, and I'll unmute the screen, or unshare, is that I'm looking for us to only ask one question today if you're in the outer circle, and that's because I want to try to get to themes by the end of the period, and I've got to try to break you up into themes. I have all the numbers in front of me, but it takes me a minute to do that, okay? So that'll give you guys time to organize your notes from the discussion. Okay, I'm going to stop the share. We reversed from last week in terms of who was responsible for asking the questions and who's responsible for responding. And I'm going to let you guys kind of take this over again. And when you want to speak, unmute, and then I'll know that you're doing the speaking, and I'll be able to give you your points, okay? So whoever wants to start off, remember, you can talk about the spread of Islam and then the influence of the Mongols and Yuan China as well, all right? Take it over. Whoever wants to ask the first question, you got it.
My first question is, what are some of the most significant inventions during the Mongolian Empire?
Can you say that louder? Turn your noise up or whatever it's called, volume. Thank you. Now we can't hear anything.
What are some of the most significant inventions during the Mongolian Empire?
say that the flaming and exploding arrows were very important because, especially in battles, they were able to shoot them from a very, I think it was like 400, I forget the exact number, but feet that that they could hit someone with. So that's really good for trying to conquer whoever they were battling.
Yeah, I think that, like, I kind of agree with that. Like, I know that when we were talking about the new inventions from the Mongols, we talked a lot about their weapons. And I know that we haven't really talked much about weapons with, like, other dynasties and stuff like that. So I think that, yeah, definitely the bows and arrows were definitely a really big part of the Mongol Empire that we talked about.
I agree with everything that everyone else has said, and I also think, building on the gunpowder, that because they used gunpowder so heavily, if they wouldn't have come up with those inventions, we wouldn't have what we know as the modern day grenade, hand grenade.
I agree with how Jill was referencing about gunpowder, and I think this also translated into more advanced like ways of doing siege warfare. And also, didn't they come up with like the bridle for like the horses because they were nomadic and they like rode on horseback? So I think that was a pretty important invention for them because how influential it was on their lifestyles.
Yeah, another invention is like the siege warfare, so catapults and cannons and things like that to help them win wars.
Going off of that, they also had battle rams, and they had Chinese engineers help them engineer a bamboo rocket, and it would set fire to the cities.
Yeah, I agree with that because those inventions help them spread and conquer different empires and regions.
All right, I got next question. What empires and civilizations were conquered by Umayyad, and how do you think this advancement affected Umayyad?
The civilizations that were conquered were the Persian Empire, Syria, Egypt, and other modern-day Middle East civilizations. And I think that the UMAD gained many resources with their high acceptance of religion, change in social structure, and worship.
I have a question, and it is, how is the Mongol military Tumens alike and different from the Japanese feudal military system?
Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah. So how was the Mongols military Tumen? So like kind of their like diversion of army, kind of like the Japanese feudal military system.
Similar or different, or either one?
Either one.
Okay.
When I like hear that question, I think of the organization, because when you're referring to Tumens, you're talking about like the groupings of like 10,000 and like 1,000, and that I think can relate to, again, the organization in feudal Japan's military.
I feel like for the Mongols, like they were talked about how they were like separate. They had their own like clans that they fought in. When like in the feudal system in Japan, it was like you gave something, you got something back. Like they all helped each other, and like you would get something back if you did something else. Like I don't know, I'm trying, like, I don't know, but yeah.
I have the next question, and it's, can you describe how the Mongols use shamanism?
So basically, like shamanism, I know like when we were learning about that, first of all, it's about how like they worship nature spirits. And I think that really took a big role in their culture. And I think that really like shaped the Mongols' culture. And I think some like examples of this are like just like making sure that like the nature around them is like really like pretty and nice and stuff like that. And I feel like that's really a big part. Like I feel like their environment was very nice because of the fact that they were shamanistic.
Yeah, also it talked about how although they were shamanistic, they tolerated other religions and learned and developed off of them.
I agree with that, and I also remember that they thought their leader Genghis Khan, they like worshipped him with their shamanism because they thought he was like an embodiment of their spirits.
I had a question about okay, so how were the scholar gentry artisans and merchant classes affected by Mongol rule?
In China?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that again?
How were the scholar gentry, artisans, and merchant classes affected by Mongol rule in China?
I'm not exactly sure, but didn't they support artists more? Like, they patroned them? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like in the Yuan dynasty, which is in China, like they were brought more of like to an equal status. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got a question. Why were the Yuan dynasty palaces like so like fancy with all like gold and like silver?
I feel like because they established secure trade routes, it really helped make sure that they had trade so they could get their economy running and get the flow of money for their like society, so they could be able to afford to build these great like palaces and other buildings.
Yeah, their
I was
trade
gonna
got
say.
them. Oh, you can go. You can go.
I was gonna say with secure trade routes, not only do the trades go through more often, but that makes them more confident in trading more frequently. If they're not getting attacked as much, which means they're getting a lot more income a lot quicker. And eventually, at some point, they're going to want to, once they have necessities down, they're gonna try and obviously make more buildings and make fancier buildings with that extra income from all the trade they can do.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. Like how that they had income coming in, so that they could have the resources to build those kind of houses and buildings.
Yeah, I think the palaces were, I guess, a representation of how wealthy they were, and they were kind of showing off how wealthy they were through the palaces by using all these like silvers and stuff.
Building onto what they said, the Chinese could like make silk, which was in high demand, which led to them being able to become wealthy in the trade.
I also feel like the building of these palaces helped intimidate their enemies to see how powerful they were and how much they controlled.
Okay, I have another question. It is, what were some difficulties the Umayyad dynasty faced during its reign?
Wait, can you repeat that again? Sorry.
No, you're good. I asked, what were some difficulties the Umayyad dynasty faced during its reign? I think I'm saying the dynasty right. Correct?
Umayyad.
Like the
Yeah.
Umayyad? Okay, yeah.
I know that the Umayyad dynasty that they moved the Islam capital out of Mecca to Damascus, Syria. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I think that was definitely probably like a challenge because I mean, that's not like the easiest thing to do. So that's definitely like a challenge that they went through and that they succeeded with.
Yeah, and also maybe through their massive growth, like I think we were talking about this yesterday, like overexpansion can lead to overextension, so it becomes harder to like control this like diverse group of people, so that could have been a challenge.
I have a question.
Hold on, Kaylee. Hey, I'm going to interject just because I want you guys to all understand we missed one big point there. That was the split between Sunni and Shia. That was a major problem with both of the famous caliphates, the Umayyad and the Abbasid, okay? So in your guys' notes, you want to have that at some point. All right, Kaylee, go ahead.
Okay. So, what was a common transportation that the Mongols used throughout their empire? And how did this communication, benefit communication throughout the empire and make it faster?
I would say that they rode horses, which was like easier to ride, and they could go at high speeds, which that's like faster communication and faster transportation of goods and stuff.
Building onto that, they also banished their riders so they could ride for longer and get the messages to their leaders faster.
I have a question. What conditions helped Moscow gain power under Mongol rule?
Well, I think they were able to gain some wealth, and then that can translate into power because they were the ones that were collecting tribute, and like how they would like skim some of it off the top, and over time that just continued to build up and continued to like feed their armies until they were power enough to overthrow the Mongols.
I have a question. Would you consider the Yuan dynasty to be the golden age of China?
I would say that from the stuff that we've learned, I would say that it was definitely good, but in the Marco Polo primary source that we read yesterday, I would say that the way he was describing it, he only pointed out the good stuff about the Yuan dynasty and he didn't point out anything bad about it. And I feel like that really shows that like there's definitely a chance that it is, but we also don't know much about anything bad that happened in the Yuan dynasty, so it's a possibility.
Like, I mean, I agree with what Lucy's saying, how, like, he just described the positives and not the negatives, but, I mean, what he did describe, it showed, like, how wealthy they were with how big a palace is. Like, in the hall, it fit 6,000 people. So that, to build something like that size can be, like, it costs a lot of money. So they had to have their, like, economy in balance to be able to afford it, and, yeah.
I have a question. Why were the Mongols able to conquer so much land?
I think they were able to conquer so much land because they were so skilled with the weapons they knew, and they were able to ride horseback for so long that it didn't deter them from being able to fight for hours.
Yeah, I think this kind of ties in with the whole like weaponry and like messaging questions previously. Is that because they had horseback, they could traverse territory very quickly, and especially having things like explosive and flaming arrows, uh, that's going to prove a very strong advantage that they'd have over most enemies if they can not only stay on horseback for long periods of time, but if they can say shoot those bows off horseback, then that's basically like a portable cannon that's moving super fast, and at that time, that'd be a very strong weapon to have on your side.
Yeah, I think that the people in the Yuan dynasty, they were very, very skilled and prepared for anything happening. And I think that could really make them like for example, like when a sports team like practices more and is more skilled than another, like they're obviously going to win the game. And I feel like that is definitely like a good example for the Yuan dynasty because they knew what they were doing, whereas some others wouldn't really know what was going on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's also because of the size of their army, like, and they all stuck together, and one person said do this, and they all did it, and there was no conflict within the army. So yeah.
Well, and also their lifestyles, I think, really allowed them to just be able to conquer so much land like so quickly because they were nomads and like obviously they were on horseback. So like this combination made it really good for them to be able to travel around and conquer as much land as they did. And then that combined with their like warrior lifestyles, like how good of warriors they were and their weaponry, I think just really like paved the way to their like success.
Like adding to what Hannah said, how they would go to conquer in the winter because the land was frozen and the rivers were frozen. So that knowledge that how much easier it is to travel in those conditions than like if you were doing it in the spring or the summer when all of it was melted, it shows that they had knowledge of what they were doing and that they were ready for whatever was coming to whatever came to them.
I have a question. So how was the Mongol Empire a bridge between civilizations?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah. So, how was the Mongol Empire a bridge between civilization?
Well, I think that they were able to be a great bridge for civilizations just because of how much like area they ruled over and how they were able to connect these areas because they were all ruled over by the Mongols. And also relating to the earlier point, because they had such secure trade routes, like ideas and like different like religions obviously could be passed along these trade routes. So that could also serve as connections between different places.
Okay, my question was, what did the survival of the Mongols depend on?
I think it sort of depended on like their military strength because that's how they were able to conquer so many places is because they had a strong military and they were able to defeat like pretty much anyone they came across, and that shows how they're so powerful and that they were willing to fight to be able to stay around.
Okay, do we have any more questions? All right. We can end our debate there, which is perfectly fine. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and take this share screen again real quick here. And show you guys period 7-8. These are the themes that you're responsible for. in the bold numbers next to your name. And so we'll end up having about 15 minutes ish for you to meet with your group. And I'm going to put you guys into breakout rooms. When I put you into breakout rooms, just remember to follow what was on the, it's been pretty much the same on the Canvas Canvas module, which is, there you go. Which is Themes Day. So you're going to post here with your group. Okay, follow the process of picking a leader, participating. You'll have around 12 minutes. And I'm going to come in, check each room. And this is a big one because this kind of bridges a lot of the material between 1450, before 1450 and after 1450. The Mongols kind of gelled it together as you guys all discussed for the last 25 minutes, okay? Make sure you have at least one comparison, just one. And then if you have, I think I changed this on, if you had humans in the environment, add how geography affected civilization. So for this one, you're obviously going to talk about how the Mongols were affected by the fact that they were from the steppes of Asia and they were nomadic and they had to deal with, not a lot of agriculture. Okay, so I just gave that to you. Build on it. Okay. I'm then going to, you guys can look that up. Again, that's under chapter 15, Themes Day. It was supposed to be due yesterday, but it'll be due by the end of the period. I'm going to stop the share, get you into your breakout rooms, and then get you going, okay? Oh, last but not least, make sure everyone's names and then the theme number that you have are on there, okay? So that people can go back and this is like a parking lot of notes that we'll have for the rest of the year. It's a very effective study tool, especially when we start to review. All right, so I got to figure out how to do this again. 6 rooms, create breakout rooms. Okay, it's going to take me like 2 minutes, so organize your notes while you're doing this, please. Okay. You guys have been broken up into rooms. You've got about 12 and a half minutes to get this uploaded.